Good afternoon and happy Friday to you. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for live streaming in on this Friday, July 24th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. The president makes an announcement on American nuclear innovation from the Oval Office. We'll have that in full at 3 o'clock, so a little bit of time yet from now until then, but we have a lot in store for you, including we know that next week the president has yet another wall-to-wall schedule. On Monday, President Trump will be in Michigan to deliver a speech. We'll have that live coverage, of course, here on Right Side. On Tuesday afternoon, this all according to Carolyn Levitt just yesterday, the president will deliver a tribute for the life and legacy of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. That will be held at the National Cathedral in Washington. We'll also have that here on Right Side. Then, fast forward to Friday, President Trump will host the 13th cabinet meeting of his second administration, this time from Camp David. Hope we'll have a live picture of that as well. That'd be pretty cool to see the 13th meeting of this cabinet in Camp David out there in Maryland. Meantime, before we continue on with a lot of the 24/7 news cycle, let's go to conservative author Anne Marie Jamison. She's an author that was introduced to me just pretty recently, so just want to hear her story a little bit. I believe she's on ready to go. Is that right, Director? All right. So here we go. Let's go with conservative author Anne Marie Jamison. Anne, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about some of the conservative books. And you have, I guess, a Christian influence in some of those books. Can you share with us some of the titles and the inspiration behind them?
Well, my first book was A Bed of Roses. I wrote it quite by accident, and I come from a very conservative family, so it has a very conservative lean. The main character, she's a practicing Catholic, but she's basically just uses her faith to guide her in everything that she does. And sometimes she gets in trouble doing different things, and she has to, ask God to help her get out of them. But then the series goes on to, I have 5 books in the series. It's A Bed of Roses, Belle Rose, Petite Rose, Coming Up Roses, and Wine and Roses.
Awesome. So we know some reputable people, Kelly Walker and others, introduced me to you. So how did you meet Kelly, and what is it about politics that you also are involved in?
Well, I'm very involved in politics. I got very involved after President Obama took office, because I was disturbed by some of his policies. I was active in the Tea Party movement. Then I moved out of, I was in North Louisiana, and I moved to South Louisiana. And I was a big President Trump supporter. And when 2020 happened, I was just floored, the election controversies, things like that. And so I started following all kinds of political podcasts and reading just excessively. And that's how I came across Kelly. And I told him that I had a book series that was had a conservative lean and Christian lean, and I thought his audience would be conducive to what the people I was trying to reach. I wrote the series because I felt there wasn't enough books available to Christian conservatives out there.
Yeah, I mean, and that seems to be something that's a growing trend now. A number of people with audiobooks and books that cater to the conservative Christian audience, which is the mass majority of this country. So it's definitely a great market or industry to be involved in. I know a few authors. We interview a lot of authors here at Right Side. So let's go into some more details when it comes to why it's important to you to share that message through your books.
Well, my books don't come out and really focus on politics. They mostly focus on the Christian way of life. There are characters in the books that are not as involved in their Christian faith as the main character, but they mainly talk about everyday life experiences that people come across. They deal with a family who has a cancer diagnosis. They deal with family members who, have died for whatever reasons besides cancer. They deal with secrets in the closet, skeletons in the closet kind of thing of their family members that they end up finding out about. Just everyday experiences that we as normal people come across, and how they dealt with them in the book. I thought it reaches a lot of people because they can relate to the stories in the books.
And definitely, again, you as a conservative Christian, as the author of these books, again, this is conservative author Anne Marie Jamison. And can you share with us where people can purchase books? Is it on Amazon?
Yes, my books are all on Amazon. They can just go to Amazon.com, or they can put in Amazon.com/author/Anne Marie Jamison, and it'll bring up all my books. Or they can go to my website at AnneMarieJamison.com.
Conservative author Anne Marie Jamison, thanks so much for your insight and what you're doing out there for the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good stuff there with Anne Marie Jamison. Now let's move on to Tennessee. The Representative Andy Ogles talking about the Save America Act recently on Capitol Hill. Let's go to clip number 1.
It's go time. Like, the American people want the House and the Senate to deliver. And look, John Quincy Adams loved the House of Representatives. It was the people's house. It's where you do the hard work. But we've served it up on a platter for the Senate. Go do your freaking job, John Thune. And if not, get out of the way. It's that simple. You've got literally going to have multiple choice. If you don't like that version of the Save Act, do Save America. If you don't like that version, do the other version. But this is something that's critical. And look, a CNN poll. So not the most conservative network out there says over 80% of Americans want the Save America Act. No more excuses. Go to work. Stay this weekend. No breaks. Pass the Save America Act.
So we'll see if that actually happens, though. We have the August recess right around the corner. If you remember, in April for the Easter recess, everybody went home. And there is a need for that, of course, to go back to the constituents in the districts. But we'll see what happens in August. Some sort of momentum that we're seeing here. Maybe it's, I don't know, I'm feeling it out, maybe a 5 out of 10 right now for the Save America Act. We see that President Trump and Senator Tommy Tuberville, and you saw the Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee, and the list goes on. But this should overwhelm, I think, the news cycle. And I don't care if it's the mainstream media plus conservative media, podcasts, radio shows. That Save America Act, I saw Glenn Beck the other day on the phone. He was calling Senator John Thune's office and left a message there to pass the Save America Act. No matter who you're for, against, like, don't like, at the end of the day, hey, if CNN's going to talk about the Save America Act, thank you, CNN. And that's the only time I'll ever probably say thank you, CNN, again. Because it's all about getting the country to have secure, safe elections. We saw the problem. President Trump talked to us about that last Thursday night in that national primetime address. And of course, we saw that the mainstream media decided not to air most of that speech, or if any at all. All right, let's move on. Let's stay on Capitol Hill for now. Again, we have a lot to get to here on Right Side, including going to Iowa in a little bit. We'll be going to D.C. And then, of course, we'll be seeing President Trump at the top of next hour. In the meantime, Representative Jason Smith talked about House Bill 8884, the Removing Barriers to Work for Disabled Americans Act. Let's go to clip number 2.
Many Americans that are living with disabilities want to enter the workforce and seek gainful employment. In fact, an estimated 60% of Americans who receive benefits under the Social Security Disability Insurance Program have stated a desire to return to work. And yet, less than 1% leave the disability insurance program each year for a job. That is a gigantic gap between the number of disabled Americans who want to work and the number who successfully return to work. The Removing Barriers to Work for Disabled Americans Act seeks to shrink that gap by simply restoring the Social Security Administration's authority to test drive solutions that can empower more of our fellow Americans to get back to work. Up until 2022, the SSA had such authority to run demonstration projects on improving work outcomes. With that authority expired, and with so many disabled Americans still unable to successfully navigate the current program, we have to find a better way forward.
Again, that's House Bill 8884. So a broad spectrum of information and news within the 24/7 news cycle. Of course, the Save America Act, the Iranian conflict, the daily events that we cover here at the, I was just going to say here at the White House, but at the White House. You know, there's a lot going on, of course, and we're going to get to some more information about the White House Fraud Task Force with the Vice President in just a second. Before we do, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. As you see on your screen there, 10% off. And staying prepared, always a great thing to do. You've probably been hearing about that cyclospora parasite that's been making headlines lately. Health officials are investigating a growing outbreak that has now been reported in 31 states. We know that HHS Secretary RFK Jr. is on the defense or the offense on this to get this taken care of and control the outbreak. We're told the parasite can cause a lot of horrible symptoms, from stomach cramps to severe diarrhea, nausea, fatigue. It's also a good reminder that unexpected illnesses can happen, which is why it's important to have a pharmacy you can count on for easy access to essential medications and physicians that can provide a prescription when you need it. That's where really All Family Pharmacy comes in, because they've made healthcare simple. You can actually order medications on their website, get the prescription from their doctors if needed. Then your medications are shipped directly to your door. And they offer antibiotics like Bactrim. This is commonly recommended for this parasite, this infection. They also have more anti-parasitic medications, everyday maintenance medications, allergy medications, and hundreds of other prescriptions. All you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, use that 10% to save some money and to get some products that are much needed. You know, at the end of the day, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can give them a call, ask some questions if you'd like. 561-717-6794. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, which I believe is Tax Network USA. You see it right there, tnusa.com/RSBN. You know, really, I could say this in just a few words. How about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words? Settle your back taxes today. It's really the gist of this advertisement, because 877-479-6503. When you call that number, you get some great people there that are going to help you get financial peace of mind. You know, sometimes maybe if you missed a year, maybe it was 2014 or 2018 or 2022 or whatever, and you kind of like, you know, I don't know, like I didn't owe that much or whatever. These guys will help you get back on track, because we know the IRS, they're not really waiting with this whole thing. They actually are enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. And this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They could do the same for you, but you have to call now, because they're offering this free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and just get you back on track. This is really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. That number again, 877-479-6503, or visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Some awesome sponsors here on Right Side. We're approaching that 2 o'clock hour here on the network on this Friday, July 24th. Let's go now to the second in charge, the Vice President of the United States, with an update on the White House Fraud Task Force in clip number 4.
Fraud isn't just about saving money. It's not just about protecting taxpayers. It's about protecting you.
Our job is not just to catch the bad guys. Our job is to stop the fraud before it happens.
It protects real people from real injury, and it makes sure that American citizens who are entitled to this money, that all of us have given our money up to help, actually get the money.
Every single day, we are finding fraudsters all over this country who are getting rich off of your generosity and are taking food from the mouths of poor children.
If it smells like fraud, we're not paying for it anymore.
If you are committing fraud against the American people, you ought to go to prison. Because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation. If you want a partner in fighting fraud, you've got one. This does not need to be Republican versus Democrat. This needs to be fraudster against non-fraudster.
That sounds great to me. Doesn't it sound great to you? Fraudster versus non-fraudster. Or how about truth versus lies? Or how about conservative media versus mainstream media? Or how about Donald Trump versus the left, right? Kamala Harris and the whole gang over there. You know, so we're seeing who's on the right side of history versus who's not. And anymore, it's not really a gray area. Back in the day, I don't know, what, in the 90s maybe, early 2000s, you know, is a kind of a gray area. You're like, you know, let's go to Blockbuster Video. Remember those? I wish there were some more Blockbuster videos out there, by the way. I wish it was still kind of that day where you go in there, even before you get the DVDs. How about just the VHS copies? I'm about to be 45 years old, so I've been around a little bit. Only 45, I know it's not that old, but anyway, Blockbuster Video. I think there's one store left, and it's not from Blockbuster. I guess somebody else bought the name and all that kind of thing out there in Oregon. All right, enough of that. Let's go to another Tennessee representative. Tim Burchett recently spoke about holding Planned Parenthood accountable. Let's go to clip number 5.
Hey everybody, Congressman Tim Burchett. On June 13th, 2025, the DOJ subcommittee, which I chair, requested information from Planned Parenthood Federation of America about the illegal use of federal funds to provide abortion services and their failure to comply with parental consent laws by providing gender-affirming care to minors, which is sex change operations and through chemical processes. To this day, Planned Parenthood has failed to fully comply with subcommittee requests and provide the information we asked for. In fact, they provided absolutely no information on the extent they are providing gender-affirming care, and it was all public information that they gave back to us. Any documents they did give us, though, were completely, in my opinion, was just a slap in the face to the committee, knowing that they were publicly available. Look, we're not going to wait on Planned Parenthood anymore, their headquarters or any of those people to decide when they're going to respond to a congressional request. As chairman, we're going to use the full authority that we have and get to the bottom of this. They should not ever be using federal tax dollars for abortion, and especially right now, gender-affirming care, which is sex change operations, and the chemicals and the prescription drugs they use to do that. So, thank you.
It is great to have people on Capitol Hill like Tennessee Representative Burchett there talking about those kind of things, because most of the country, I would say definitely most of the country, doesn't want their tax dollars going toward anything having to do with Planned Parenthood. Let's go now to a recent message from HHS Secretary RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz. Let's go to that, clip number 7.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. Today I'm joined by my friend and colleague, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, to announce an important step to protect the health of the American people. Today, CMS notified every state Medicaid director and urged them to help end the use of mercury-containing dental fillings.
For decades, dentists have filled cavities with a material called dental amalgam, which combines mercury with silver, tin, copper, and other heavy metals. Over time, evidence has shown that mercury exposure from dental amalgam could pose risks to vulnerable populations like pregnant women, their babies, women trying to become pregnant, children under the age of 6, people with neurologic diseases or impaired kidney function. Mercury exposure places these groups and others at elevated risk for a range of health complications. When mercury accumulates in the body, studies suggest that it might contribute to birth defects, autoimmune disorders, behavioral changes, neurologic problems, Alzheimer's, lots of other conditions. And the mercury vapor from dental amalgam also exposes dentists and other dental professionals to health risks during the placement or removal of cavity fillings.
Mercury in dental fillings doesn't just affect patients. It contaminates our environment. Mercury from dental amalgam enters wastewater and spreads through our air and our soil and our waterways. The federal government has already committed to phasing down the use of mercury dental amalgams by 2034 to better protect both public health and our environment. Today's notification calls on the states to help lead that effort and do it quicker. Earlier this year, the Trump administration announced that the Indian Health Services will transition to mercury-free restorative materials across Indian Health Service and tribal dental programs by 2027. Now we're asking every state Medicaid program to do its part by taking two simple, practical steps.
First, consider restricting or ending state Medicaid coverage for dental procedures that use mercury-containing dental amalgam. Second, incentivize the use of mercury-free resin-based composite filling materials instead. Studies show that when dental practices go mercury-free, it's better for the patients, the practitioners, and the planet. And it protects your taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars should support the safest, most modern care available, not outdated materials that contain mercury. We have better alternatives, and it's time that we start using them. Let's protect patients. Let's protect dental professionals. Let's protect the environment. Together, we can make America healthy again.
You know, I don't know, with a vehicle or an airplane or a jet, if you're really going after it, the afterburners are going. Maybe you're going, 75 miles per hour on a 75 mile per hour zone out there in Colorado, whatever. There are some 75s, right? Or is it just 70? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the Health and Human Services, they are on the afterburners, right? I don't think I've ever seen Health and Human Services so on fire doing the right thing for the American people as under this Trump administration. Awesome to see that stuff. Let's go to a couple of sponsors in the meantime. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Of course, a lot of great products there at MyPillow.com/RSBN. And I believe that the Mega Sale 2.0 is still ongoing. So if you got paid today or you have a few extra bucks in the account and you'd like to get some more products, go ahead, MyPillow.com/RSBN. And to those that haven't got any MyPillow products, just give it a look, MyPillow.com/RSBN. You'll be surprised that there are a ton of quality products on there. I know my family and I, we have a ton of them. And there's a few that we actually need to get more of. So maybe I'll have to practice what I preach and go to MyPillow.com/RSBN. But great sponsor here on Right Side, the great Mike Lindell right there. All right, let's move on to our next, in the sense of an option to donate if you'd like. So RSBNetwork.com/donate. We were just in Georgia earlier this week, and that was one of the highlights of the week, at least for me, because it was great to be out there with you or those that were in Marietta, Georgia, just to interact just like that, just with the microphones and talking to all of you guys. I mean, we're all on the same team in the sense of right side of history, God, family, country, freedom, we the people, all the things. And of course, the leader of the free world, President Donald J. Trump. We're seeing him do things in our lifetime that no other president has ever done. So it is history in the making in a way. And it's historic to cover all of this stuff that we see out there, all the news, all the events, today's 3 o'clock event, all the Oval Office meetings, all the rallies. I mean, that Georgia event was epic. It was just like a 2022 or 23, 24, back to 2016, 27. Any year that President Trump has done a rally, I've been to maybe 25 rallies and covered them live with Right Side Broadcasting Network. And I should count that, you count the credentials, one in Georgia, one in Pennsylvania, one in Iowa, New Hampshire, and on. But Georgia was on fire. That was awesome. If you missed it, if you're watching today on this Friday and you missed the rally from Wednesday, go ahead and scrub through a little bit of that on Rumble, YouTube, X, wherever you watch our broadcast, because that, as I mentioned at the end of that rally in Marietta, when President Trump was going off the stage and the crowd's chanting USA, or at least cheering at that moment, it's that kind of passion that we see in this country for the right side of history, for freedom, and for all of the things that will win. The Save America Act is a winning legislation. The Save America Act, if it became law, would be a winning law. And I know most of you guys that are watching already agree. And I know that sometimes it gets to be echo chamber-ish. It is what it is. We got to keep encouraging each other to get the word out, because we know the mainstream media loves to echo chamber off each other because they all have the same kind of script. Just watch another Carolyn Levitt press conference and you'll see that there's the same kind of question asked in a different kind of way because the reporters think they're slick. But guess who's slicker? We the people. Because we don't put up with crap, do we? We don't put up with crap. We know, really now, we're more aware than ever, because of the information age that we are fully in, we can get details overseas in 10 seconds. If you have any social media or even a text message from a friend that's overseas, you know, there's so many things that we can get quickly. And then we know what our gut says, our intuition. We know what just sounds right. It's common sense. And that's what happened with President Trump over the years. We heard common sense. We heard an outsider. We heard someone that wasn't taking all of those dollars back in the day. Remember that debate, and Jeb Bush was there and all these people, and they're all booing Donald Trump. And he was like, well, those are all the special interests and donors. I'm not taking their money. I don't need their money, all that kind of thing. It was pretty awesome to witness all of the things over the years. There is no president like President Trump. When it comes to my lifetime, I haven't seen it. Now, I was born when Ronald Reagan was president, and he's a great president, but wasn't Donald Trump. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to a live interview now. Let's go to Iowa. Election security expert Kurt Whalen joins us live. Kurt, thanks so much for joining us. I unfortunately can't hear you. So what we'll do is we'll go to a quick commercial break. We'll get our audio stuff taken care of. We'll be right back here on RSBN.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back to Right Side. Let's go now to Iowa. Election security expert Kurt Whalen. Last time Kurt was on, he was wearing the MAGA hat, so we had to get that one back on. That's the dark MAGA hat in the house. Kurt, thanks so much for joining us from the Hawkeye State.
Thank you, Matthew. Pleasure to be here.
Definitely. All right, let's go right to Zach Lane, of course, running for governor in Iowa. President Trump endorsed him. You're on board as well, right?
Absolutely. I support everybody up and down the ticket, especially our governor candidate, Mr. Lane. He is a Iowan, true and true, in spite of what they're saying about him being in Kansas. He has a 6th-generation farm. If you talk to the man about history, he's amazing. He knows his Iowa history, and he's got MAHA endorsed, trying to work to make sure that we get our cancer rates down here. And he's a likable, intelligent, excellent choice for our next governor. So I absolutely support Zach Lane for governor. So he'll do a great job, and he's the right choice, 100%.
You know, President Trump and his administration, when it comes to farmers, and ranchers, I don't think there's been a president that has done more, seriously, I haven't seen it, than President Trump, especially there in a lot of farmland in the great state of Iowa.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's been a huge supporter of the farmers. He loves the farmers. He's always fighting for the farmers. And but more than just the farmers, I think he fights for all of us. So I'm a big fan of President Trump's. I think he's done a great job. He's everything, nothing's perfect, but you always want, if you can get, I think Reagan said, if you can get 80% there with somebody that's an elected official, then they're certainly an ally of yours. And Trump's way better than that for me. So I think he looks after the farmers. I think part of the problem we've had with our economy in general is that we've been doing business with people that enslave their own people, the communist Chinese. And as Republicans, we really need to stand up against that sort of thing. Why? I think in the Cold War, back when we lost China, when the Democrats under Truman lost China to the communist Chinese, that was a disaster for America. And even Chiang Kai-shek was not the greatest ally of ours. He was certainly an ally and would have been a better choice for the people of China. But that's what is happening over in Asia. They are doing slave labor to their people, and we're profiteering off of a lot of that. So a lot of the Trump's tariff policies are designed to bring those jobs back here to free people in America. That's a huge thing for us. Our farmers have to do a lot of business over there. We try to sell our goods all over the world. So a lot of the work that has to be done is freeing our economy from that sort of tyranny and oppression. That's un-American. And I understand historically why we had to do it. But now it's time that we start saying to the rest of the world, if you're not going to live free and breathe free like we are, then maybe we shouldn't be doing business with you.
Do you know, I was just thinking, Kurt, and I agree 100% on that you and election expert Seth Keshel are like a 1-2, figuratively speaking, punch for election integrity, election security, and all of that. So can you go over some of the numbers you've been seeing with primary elections? We still have a number of states to get to, of course, throughout this month, next month, in September. So what are you seeing there for Iowa in general? We already know that passed, but anything else around the country that you've seen?
Well, I want to pull back a little bit, Matthew, and talk a little bit about the big picture of this election integrity stuff. Because I think Republicans get attacked now because we're talking about election fraud and integrity that's been going on for years. There's a guy, his name's Jeremy Harrell. He does LFA TV, and I watched a Facebook post he made the other day, and basically he was describing all of the Democrats in 2016 who were talking about election fraud, Hillary, this and that. You couple that with Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat, coming on as a good Republican now, as DNI, talking about this is a real deal here. These things are happening. There's a CIA agent I listened to the other day who worked with Mike Lindell's group to expose a lot of this. Worked with Patrick Byrne, worked with Sidney Powell, and these things are real. They're really happening, and you couple that with President Trump taking all that together. You have to ask yourself, why are our people not actually implementing the SAVE Act? It is 83% positive amongst all parties. Forget just Republican. The people that are independents and Democrats also want the SAVE Act passed. What is going on? Why are we not passing that? And one of the things I think President Trump has done that's his most successful thing, he is showing these people who the deep state is and why they exist and how they are detrimental to our society, all of us. Because when 83% of the people agree on something, there is no reason that should not be getting passed at all whatsoever. Seth Keshel does amazing work when it comes to the actual numbers of what's going on. I think his analysis is top notch. But there's a reality that this stuff's been going on even prior to electronics being involved. Everybody knows about Lyndon Johnson, ballot stuffing in Texas in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Everybody knows about corrupt Chicago Mayor Daley. I mean, we got corrupt Pritzker over there now too. But so it's a joke. My parents were Republican and they voted Republican in every election until they died, and then they voted Democrat. Those are jokes, but the reality is these things are occurring. There are actual computer networking related vulnerabilities that we should never have, and we have them. They need to be closed. Voter ID, the SAVE Act, a lot of those things help close them. As long as we have something networked, it will never be totally secure. That's what we have to understand. And a lot of people say, oh, these machines aren't networked. That is a lie. There is a network going on there. When your county auditor sends the information up to your Secretary of State, they're not sending it via Pony Express. It's getting put on the network and it's getting uploaded to the Secretary of State. That instance right there opens up third-party attacks in networking security. It's called man-in-the-middle attacks. The more we limit that interaction, the better we are. That's just one aspect of this, Matthew. There are a ton of very technical, computer-related reasons that our voting systems are not secure. It doesn't mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, get rid of all electronics, although some people would advocate for that. It just means that we need to take a very serious look, listen to the leaders of both parties. Hillary Clinton used to say that Trump stole the election in 2016. All these Democrats were on board. There were documentaries in 2016 talking about this. It's happening. Trump says it's happening also, as well as a multitude of experts in the field. With the exception of whoever did the 2020 election, Christopher Krebs, I believe was his name, and said it was the most secure election in our nation's history. Absolute nonsense right there.
Absolute nonsense. 81 million votes, you know what, for Joe Biden in 2020. And Kurt, I have a question for you. So
Yes.
We hear from the president last Thursday night, national primetime address, the White House coming out saying the U.S. election system is broken. I have a list right here of the White House saying voting machines and ballot counting systems exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other adversaries actively trying to meddle in elections. Evidence of fraud being buried. The list goes on. Now, when you hear that from the leader of the free world, for you, sir, you've been talking about it for years. I know President Trump has too, indirectly, but now with all the evidence and receipts out there, do you have a renewed sense of confidence? I know you have the confidence of the receipts and evidence, but now that the president's speaking about it and pushing for the SAVE Act, has that really lit a fire underneath you to get out there and do more?
President Trump's out there fighting for it. It's about time we had somebody. President Trump's out there fighting for it. It's about time we had somebody doing this. It's about time Tulsi Gabbard, our government people, actually took this seriously. So that is very encouraging. The problem here is going to be with our people. The Romans had a phrase for the mob. They said, as long as you give them bread and circuses, they will do whatever you want. The emperors of Rome would be aghast at the amount of bread and circuses we have now. 350 channels, video games, everybody's on their phone. If this type of very detailed election integrity stuff that's going on, it's highly technical. A lot of it is difficult for our people to understand. The more President Trump talks about it, the more Tulsi Gabbard was out there talking about it, the more people we have. I mean, Sidney Powell was completely vindicated by a lot of this information. Rudy Giuliani was out in front on this also, completely vindicated by what's come out.
Doug Mastriano, Kerry Lake, the list goes on. And those two
Absolutely.
great patriots are now being considered for nominations of various U.S. ambassador positions. We have to wrap up the interview, but Kurt, to your point, if we were to compile all the times that you and I and myself here talked about the Save America Act, it would just be on repeat. We talk about it all the time. We really need to see it happen in our country. Kurt, thanks so much for what you do. Where can people follow you online?
We're on ScottCountyRepublicans.org is our website. We're on Facebook. We're on X. I absolutely recommend you go there. We are fighting on our Facebook. We're taking these people on. We get called all sorts of insane names, rapists and things, and all sorts of ridiculous things. We're actually fighting those people, and it's helping drive our content. So come join the fight on Scott County Republicans Facebook page. That really helps. Check out our website. We post events there regularly, and obviously keep listening to Right Side Broadcasting Network as well, because we can't let this die. We have to keep talking about this. It's absolutely critical that we do something and get our people to understand what is happening with election integrity. 100% necessary.
Exactly. And then the swaying of public opinion is a very, very strong thing to see out there with all the optics and messaging. Kurt Whalen from Iowa, thank you, sir, for joining us, election expert. Thank you again for what you do.
Thank you very much. You too. Take it easy.
Thanks, man. Good stuff.
Bye-bye.
All right, Kurt Whalen there in Iowa. Great to connect with him. And then just the other day, if you missed it, Seth Keshel out there in Arizona. Anybody that is diving in and saying, you know what can we do? What can we do to win more elections in the sense of free and fair elections? Because we know the mass majority of this country are on the right side of history. The mass majority. And then those that are so-called maybe moderate Democrats, maybe just some of your neighbors, that kind of thing. Those people there, they just need a little bit of detox in the mind, and ideally they'll be on the right side of history as well with us. Let's go to a couple sponsors. Then we're going to go next to a special guest here on Right Side. All Family Pharmacy is that sponsor. You've probably been hearing about the cyclospora parasite that's been making headlines lately. Health officials are investigating this growing outbreak that has now been reported in 31 states. The parasite can cause all sorts of awful symptoms. It's also really a good reminder that unexpected illnesses can happen, which is why it's important to have a pharmacy you can count on for easy access to essential medications and physicians that can provide a prescription when you need it. That's where All Family Pharmacy comes in. They've made healthcare simple. You can order medications on their website and get the prescription from their doctors if needed. Then your medications are shipped directly to your door. They offer antibiotics like Bactim, which is commonly recommended for this parasite. Now, they also have anti-parasitic medications as well, everyday maintenance meds, allergy medications, and hundreds of other prescriptions. Just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to get that 10% off with the RSBN 10 code. You can also give them a call if you have any questions, 561-717-6794. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Birch Gold Group. We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, of course, we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have since seen inflation kind of erode the dollar's value over the years. So the question is, what is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years. They'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. So you can learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting the word Trump to the number 989898. You'll receive a free, no-obligation info kit. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. So let Birch Gold help build your foundation with gold. Just text that word Trump to 989898. All right, it is 2:15 or 2:16 on the dot. Joining us now is former Trump campaign senior advisor and the president of Proactive Strategies, Mark Serrano. Thanks so much for joining us today, Mark.
My pleasure.
So, as you know, the president is making an announcement at about 3 o'clock about American nuclear innovation. What's your reaction to not only that, but the president just on fire? All sorts of things going on at the White House there.
Back in the old days, you used to have sort of a topic of the day or a topic of the week. Donald Trump's got a dozen of those a day.
Yeah.
Matt. But look, I had the pleasure and opportunity to work as a consultant with one of the largest nuclear power producers in America for 18 years. So I really believe nuclear power is the best power on earth. It's base load. It's clean. It really conflicts the radical left environmentalists because it's the cleanest power you can produce. Donald Trump recognizes this. And today, my understanding is he's going to have some of the companies today that are on the cutting edge of advanced reactor technology. These are companies that are building small scale reactors up to 80 megawatts so they can, power a small town or city. These are companies that are advancing technology. Instead of using light water reactors where the water is the coolant, they've got technologies that use helium and sodium. And my understanding is that they are reaching new milestones. The president's going to have these companies in the Oval Office. He's going to announce these milestones and his administration's embrace of nuclear power and advanced nuclear technology. This is like new age technology that we're talking about. And it really takes leadership from President Trump to work with industry to clear the guardrails, get the permitting under control, get the regulations under control. Nuclear is one of the most highly regulated industries in the world. And naturally, that increased the cost of construction. It increased the cost of maintenance. And I think it's about time that a president like Donald Trump cleaned it up so that these companies can thrive. And right now, we've got about 100 reactors in America. We should have 250 reactors, Matt. And hopefully with President Trump's leadership, we'll get there.
It seems like public-private partnerships is the name of the game with this president. I mean, the other day, there was Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and the president talking about a different matter, but a number of companies there saying, thank you guys for making this much easier, streamlining everything, no bureaucratic red tape. It must be really good to see that when you're in the private sector.
Yeah, I remember going back to the campaign in 2015 where the president was on the debate stage and he said, these politicians are all talk, no action. He comes from a very, very successful business career, running massive, massive companies. And he understands that government gets in the way. He understands that if we get government out of the way, if we reduce the tax burden, the regulatory burden, that entrepreneurs can thrive in America and we can have entire new industries that will crop up. So you're exactly right, Matt. I mean, we've never had a president who has understood business better, understood how government can work with business to help them thrive, but also get government the heck out of the way of business so they can grow and also prosper to the benefit of every American.
Exactly. And speaking of every American, you're talking about all those jobs and workers that are doing those jobs there. I mean, it's just awesome to see it. Now, we know that, with President Trump, it's interesting because Washington, D.C. now is much safer. It's much more beautiful. And I think it's part of who the president is indirectly. He's saying, if we're going to have this as our nation's capital, we got to turn this thing around. We got to get it back to the way it used to look and also bring in the National Guard, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts about that? Have you been to D.C. lately and what's it like there?
Yeah, I'm in D.C. Multiple times a week. I was in D.C. last night, Matt, at a restaurant right near the White House. We were there late. We got out of there after 11 p.m. Now, I have to tell you something. 3 years ago, if I was leaving from a restaurant that late in Washington, D.C., I was looking over my shoulder. My head was on a swivel, watching my surroundings. Last night, I walk out, the street is full of people, full of tourists at 11 p.m. 4 National Guardsmen, are on patrol, walk right past us, and it is a new day in Washington thanks to Donald Trump and his leadership. And, even just beautifying Washington, D.C. is so refreshing. This should be the greatest capital city in the world. And he's getting us there finally. But just 46 statues and countless fountains in Washington D.C. are now functioning because you just got the Interior Service under Doug Burgum and the National Park Service to get their act together and to drive change and repair and maintenance. These are such fundamental, basic things. We should have a beautiful country, a beautiful capital. And, by making it safer, I would say that the president's policy first was to make Washington, D.C. Safe with the deployment of the National Guard last fall. That was step number one. Step number two is committing to make it beautiful.
And then outside of D.C., I'm sure there are people in cities all across America, even big blue cities, so-called blue cities. I remember going to the Bronx for one of the president's events one time. He was there speaking in the Bronx. There was a ton of patriots there.
I remember.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but those areas, I'm sure if you ask them, would you like the National Guard to be here instead of getting pushed on subway tracks in New York City? You know what I mean? Like, this is something I think the people are embracing. Are they not?
Yeah, look, socialists believe that government is their God. And so they believe that government is the solution for everything. And so these, far left progressives, whatever you want to call them, socialists, communists, Marxists, who have run our cities for decades, have perfect proof of the value of their ideology and their policies with the decrepit state of so many of these cities. But, the president is basically creating the model for America to follow. He's also obviously deployed the National Guard in other cities such as Memphis, and we're starting to see a massive turn in crime in cities across America. And let me just tell you something. That's in just a year and a half, and that's thanks to a national leader who doesn't have any influence on policy in those cities, but he can deploy resources. So, it is time for these leftists in these big cities to either lead or get out of the way and follow Donald Trump's lead.
Exactly. I mean, just imagine living in Chicago, Seattle, LA, Miami, San Francisco, all these cities. I would say I would take Miami off that list. I know there's crime in Miami, but it's not as bad as a place like LA, Chicago. But the point is, even Philadelphia, New York, National Guard, man, I'd love to see it happening more. And before I let you go, sir, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. I want to talk about the Save America Act. But before we get to that, Save America was the slogan back in the day. I remember in 2022, I was in Robstown, Texas, working here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. There was a rally there, and I have the photo on my phone to this day. And that banner behind the president said, Save America. Isn't it interesting that now it's like Save America ... again for the Save America Act? I mean, really, that's what we need to see happen, right?
Yeah, and you recall that there was this ridiculous effort in the waning days of the Biden administration to pass legislation in Congress for the border. It was just an election prank that they were trying to pass on us. And what did Donald Trump say? You know what? You didn't need new legislation. You just needed a new president. And so Donald Trump is the one who saved America by first shutting down the border and the illegal border crossings. Now the next natural step is to fix our elections. Those are probably the two biggest problems that have plagued America for many years, especially for the 4 years prior to him taking back the White House. And so the Save America Act, the only problem, Matt, is I can't blame the Democrats. I have to blame John Thune. I've been railing against John Thune. I think he's the best Senate leader the Democrats have ever had. And it's not just the Save America Act. It's not just the filibuster. It's the blue slips that have blocked the president's appointments to U.S. attorneys. It's the pro forma sessions that prevent Donald Trump from making recess appointments. That's our Republican leaders. Now he's making excuses, just, picking this fight with our great press secretary the other day. Now he's making excuses for why he can't get the Save America Act passed. No more excuses, John Thune. We need to get to 50 votes and then allow the vice president to come in and be the tiebreaker. The House has attached effectively the Save America Act to the latest reconciliation bill. That's the way to get this done in the Senate. Let's get it done before they go on another one of their ridiculously long recesses.
It's exactly what people were saying out there across the country. They said the same thing prior to the April recess and Easter. Yeah, that 51 civil majority vote, we'd love to see it. So I assume you're on team nuke the filibuster.
The filibuster should be in the dustbin of history. And because it's been used by the establishment to basically stick it to the little guy in America for two generations since 1972. And it's time for it to be kicked to the curb. It's not constitutional. It's, when you become a leader in Congress, the problem is you're an institutionalist to get that high in the leadership. So all these leaders, the Republican leaders in the Senate, they're institutionalists. So they protect the institution first instead of following the president's agenda that he was elected to fulfill by the American people. So yeah, let's nuke the filibuster. Let's get Save America Act passed. Don't worry about what the Democrats will do to us someday with the filibuster. They're gonna shut it down when they get power back again anyhow. Let's get it done ourselves. Beat them to the punch.
Exactly. It is not 1996. It's 2026. Let's nuke the filibuster. I agree with you, sir. Former Trump campaign senior advisor and the president of Proactive Strategies, Mark Serrano. Thanks again for joining us, Mark.
You're welcome, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Great stuff there with Mark there from the Trump campaign back in the day. Pretty cool stuff to see the genesis, basically, or the origin of Right Side Broadcasting Network back in 2015. You know, those are the people that were running the show there for the campaign. Pretty awesome to see. We're approaching the bottom of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a couple sponsors in the meantime. Kalshi.com/RSBN is one of them. A lot of political trending topics on there for you. If you'd like to bet, trade, or just check out the polls, you can do so. Or if you want to talk about sports or weather or science, technology, faith, whatever, there's stuff on there you can check out. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Again, a lot of trending topics you can check out. You can go to the QR code. You can also download the Kalshi app or go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, one more sponsor here on Right Side as we get ready to see the president about 30 minutes from now. You know, most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. You know, sometimes we could smell it, and sometimes we shrug, and then we drink it anyway, because we've been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure. You know, chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem because chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated is chemicals that form when chlorine actually reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. We're told when chlorine interacts with those particles, it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens, and they've been linked to disruption of your gut and cancer. And those pitcher filters that you see at the store, they just won't fix this. They improve the taste of chlorine, like they mask the taste of it. But THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is, because their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. It's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. If it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up much room at all. All you have to do is just install it by putting it on your counter, plugging it in. And of course, the best thing about Cove Pure, you can get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm with a tap of the button. And the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. People have told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water, of course, is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. Get $250 off right there. Go to covepure.com/RSBN. Another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, thanks so much for joining us as we get ready to see the president. Let's go to Washington, D.C. now. Joining us now is White House Assistant Press Secretary Taylor Rogers. Thank you so much for joining us, Taylor.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Can you preview a little bit for us the president's upcoming announcement about American nuclear innovation? We know a lot of companies are very happy that President Trump is in office. Am I right?
Well, that's totally right. And sure thing, the president will be in the Oval Office today with a big announcement on civil nuclear energy. He'll be accompanied by Secretary Chris Wright, Secretary Doug Burgum, as they celebrate some of these historic landmarks that have occurred in the civil nuclear energy space thanks to the president's leadership. The president signed 4 EOs back in March that tasked the administration with achieving what, a lot of the naysayers said was impossible. But as President Trump continues to defy all odds, today they will announce that 4 nuclear energy reactors have gone on critical. And so this is huge to be able to meet demand as, our grid needs to be strengthened and we need to keep prices low for Americans. And so while many have not looked to expand our nuclear energy innovation, President Trump has delivered once again.
Speaking of energy, we saw the president at the EPA headquarters yesterday talking about that ratepayer protection pledge. It looks like tech companies are also on board with this pledge as well.
Well, that's right. I mean, yesterday we saw a historic event. This is another example of the president making a promise and keeping that promise. Back in January, during his State of the Union address, the president promised to implement this ratepayer protection pledge. And essentially what it does is ensure that when data centers are built in a community, no costs are passed on to American families and households and their utility bills. And that's obviously what a lot of Americans are concerned about. They don't want to foot the bill of these increased electricity costs. And so President Trump came up with an innovative way and a common sense solution to take care of that. And so yesterday we saw more than 200 stakeholders, including 23 governors, sign on to the president's pledge after 7 major tech companies initially signed it in March.
So we see from energy, we shift over to our elections. We know the other night, President Trump's national primetime address, a lot of people watched right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we're less than 4 months from the midterms. What is the White House's reaction to some in the mainstream media deciding not to air the president's speech that night?
Well, you know, it's just disappointing, and I think, frankly, it's what the president expects. The fake news has been attacking him and has been refusing to tell the American people the truth about what happens in our elections. And what the president wants and is asking for in the Save America Act is common sense. Every American agrees that only American citizens should be able to vote in our election. And for the president to unveil documents supporting that there has been interference in our elections the evidence was all there, and the fake news didn't want to have to show it. And so even this week, we saw New Jersey's Democrat governor say, oh, hey, there is actually some fraud in our elections. Well, of course there is, but what the Democrats have been telling us for so long, and the fake news has been covering for them, is that, oh, there's actually no election fraud. Oh, there's just a few, and now it's hundreds. And so if that's what they're telling us, who knows to what extent this is really occurring. And so President Trump has a solution to this. It's the Save America Act, and he expects Congress to get it passed.
Exactly. It may be just the tip of the iceberg. They were saying something about 6,600 illegal aliens on the voter rolls there in Jersey. It might be much higher than that. I think the president did allude to that as well. So before I let you go, Taylor, thanks again for joining us. We were looking at our coverage on Wednesday, in Marietta, Georgia, and it really was rally vibes there. From the outside of the venue, inside, it was electric. And do you think that's something that's really sparking the momentum as we get closer and closer to the midterm election less than 4 months from today?
Sure. Well, I think despite what the narrative out there would tell you, President Trump remains the most popular Republican president in history. And I think that the American people will continue showing up for him and his policies. We saw the president take a sweeping victory in Arizona this week, and I think we can expect to see that in November as well. And so the president will keep up the energy, and so will the American people as he continues to tour the country for the remaining few months before the midterms.
Exactly. We'll see him in Michigan on Monday. So White House Assistant Press Secretary Taylor Rogers, thank you so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you.
Definitely. Awesome stuff. All right. We went from Iowa to another state, then up to D.C. And of course, we'll be going to D.C. again at the top of the hour. My name is Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. We'll be right back.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pier 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Some great products right there on mypillow.com/RSBN. Meantime, of course, there are a number of financial questions a number of people are facing these days, and Tax Network USA is there for you. Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, or have you filed every year but just still keep owing? However your tax issue started, the outcome, unfortunately, is the same. Your balance is just not going down. Penalties grow, interest compounds, and a number of people just are dealing with the filing issues of back taxes. The IRS, they're not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They could even file for you without your consent. And this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With over 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. And they specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. And whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. Their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS. And we're told after that investigation to put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Just give them a call there, 877-479-6503. Again, it's 877-479-6503, or go to tnusa.com/RSBN. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side. As you see there, All Family Pharmacy. You've probably been hearing about that cyclospora parasite that's been making headlines lately. Health officials are investigating this growing outbreak that has been reported in 31 states. And the parasite can cause all sorts of awful symptoms, from stomach cramps, nausea, fatigue, and the famous one, severe diarrhea. It's awful stuff. It's also a good reminder that unexpected illnesses can happen, which is why it's important to have a pharmacy you can count on for easy access to essential medications and physicians that can provide a prescription when you need it. And that's where All Family Pharmacy comes in. They've made healthcare simple. You can order medications on their website, get the prescription from their doctors, then your medications are shipped directly to your door. And they offer antibiotics specific to this parasite. It's called Bactim, B-A-C-T-I-M, B-A-C-T-I-M, which is commonly recommended for this infection. They also have antiparasitic medications, everyday maintenance meds, allergy medications, and hundreds of other prescriptions. So just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use the RSBN10 promo code. You'll get 10% off. You could also give them that call, 561-717-6794. So if you have any questions about anything when it comes to All Family Pharmacy, that's the number right there. And I tend to like talking to somebody on the phone, especially when I have some questions. So 561-717-6794. It is 2:42 Eastern Time. We're looking at about 18 minutes or so. As soon as we see that live feed, we'll go to the White House as the president makes an announcement on American nuclear innovation. That announcement will be from the Oval Office. And then guess what? After that announcement, and a few speakers, I'm sure, he'll most likely take questions from the press. So this is kind of a busy Friday news day as many are preparing for hopefully a very nice weekend wherever you are living out there. And if it's hot, well, it is summer. We get it. Meantime, next week, the president has yet another wall-to-wall schedule. On Monday, President Trump will be in Michigan to deliver a speech. Tuesday afternoon, the president will deliver a tribute for the life and legacy of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. That will be at the National Cathedral. On Friday of next week, President Trump will host the 13th cabinet meeting of his second administration, this time from Camp David. All three of those, or at least two of those, the Monday speech in Michigan and the Tuesday afternoon event, I believe will definitely be right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll see. Will the Camp David cabinet meeting, will that be something that is open press? I hope it is. I've never seen inside Camp David when it comes to live coverage here on Right Side, so it'd be cool to be sitting in on that meeting from afar. And I'm sure you'll like to see that too. If you're into politics, if you're into seeing what happens in our country. And this is pretty much the cutting edge of live event programming. I was thinking about RSBN and some other networks out there that are just not even really on so-called cable or even broadcast with the bunny ears and the old school ways of TV. The live stream, on Rumble, YouTube, X, our app, our website, Getter, and the list goes on. I remember being at a buddy's house one time in Georgia, and he has Roku. And I went on Roku and I saw the RSBN app. And his family also cooked our family some really good food too. But anyway, cool stuff. If you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, just go to @RSBN. On X, it's @RSB Network. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum recently posted a video about the America West. Let's take a look at clip number 8.
America was founded in the East, but it was built in the West. Out here on the frontier, the American spirit didn't fade. It's only gotten stronger. And the same grit and courage that drove our founders still lives out in the West today, in the ranchers, the miners, the farmers, the tribes, and the small towns that make this country great. And under President Trump, the Department of the Interior is helping Western communities thrive again. We're improving access to public lands for hunting and fishing, expanding responsible energy production, reducing wildfire risk, supporting water infrastructure, and cutting red tape that held communities back for years. The West still powers America because of its resources, its workers, and its spirit. And if there's one thing we've learned in the last 250 years, it's that America is the best because of the West.
I love that video because I love the West in the sense of the Mountain West, the Mountain Time Zone. My first job was in Western Colorado, Grand Junction, Colorado. For those of you that are, either TV nerds or news nerds or political nerds, well, Grand Junction is market 187 out of 212 markets across the country. So each market equals a city, right? I've also worked in New York City. So that's market number 1. LA's 2, Chicago 3, Philadelphia is 4, Dallas is 5, I think Atlanta's 6, the list goes on, right? Grand Junction, actually the 212, Glendive, Montana, is the smallest TV market in America. And so I started my career in market 187 in Grand Junction, Colorado. I only bring it up because that is my favorite place on earth, literally my favorite. I've been a lot of places around the world, from Australia to Africa to Europe. No bragging, just facts. It is what it is. And Grand Junction and Eastern Utah and then Arches National Park and Silverton, Colorado and Telluride and Aspen. I'll say one more quick thing and we'll move on. Telluride is awesome. The town goes right into the base of 3, as they call it in Colorado, 14ers, right? 14,000 foot mountains. 3 or 4 14ers are at the base of Telluride. So you're in this town, you just look up, I don't know. The photographers I've worked with over the years in various markets across the country, anytime I've talked about Grand Junction, I just go on and on and on and on and on. I say, you have to go. So I guess the cat's out of the bag. It's a hidden gem, Western Colorado. You think of Denver, you think of the Rocky Mountain National Park, which is great, But when you go through the Rocky Mountains on the other side, it's called the Western Slope. And Powderhorn is one of the ski resorts there in Grand Junction. I don't know how to ski. I've never skied. But because I was in Colorado, I wanted to try snowboarding. I tried it. Let's just say I won't try it again. Fell a lot, but I could at least say on the bucket list, I snowboarded in Colorado. And then later saw the Winter X Games and saw Shaun White. All right, enough about me. Anyway, it's Friday. Let your hair down a little bit. All right, so it's 12 minutes to the top of the hour. We know that the Secretary of Veterans Affairs is touring the country, making sure our great veterans have what they need. Let's go to clip 9.
Hey everybody, it's Doug again. You never know where I'm going to be, but if you look behind me, you may think I'm in Savannah, but I'm in Nashville with Gary Sinise, the Gary Sinise Foundation. Gary has been one who has always been out front for our veterans, always been out front for our first responders in our country. Gary, it's so great to be with you here today.
Thanks, Doug. This is our education and outreach center at the Gary Sinise Foundation here. And what we do is we have multiple programs at the foundation that are serving veterans, active duty, first responders, families of our fallen heroes, our wounded. We have a vigorous home building program at the Gary Sinise Foundation to try and kind of take care of special housing for the needs of our wounded. Multiple things. I've been involved with it for many, many years. I have a lot of veterans in my family and great respect for those who serve. So we're trying
Gary,
to help.
you've opened up your heart. You've opened up so many people who understand you, and you gave so much. Thank you for what you do. The VA is always about helping our veterans. Veterans first, always at the VA. But we've got great partners in the community. Gary, you're one of those great partners for this country. Thank you so much. Hey, you never know where I'm going to be. Check it out next time.
Thank you.
And let's stick to the West when it comes to what we were talking about just a minute ago. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso recently spoke about illegal aliens on voter rolls. He was speaking about this back in D.C. on the House floor. So let's go to clip number 10.
For 4 years, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris flung open our southern border. 10 million illegal immigrants flooded into our country. Among them were criminals, members of cartels, drug dealers, gang members, terror suspects. Sanctuary states and cities welcomed these illegal immigrants. New Jersey hands out driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. Its Department of Motor Vehicles turns driver's licenses directly into voter registration. It's automatic. And in this case, the state of New Jersey, it registered 6,600 of these illegal immigrants to vote. The liberal governor of New Jersey blames it all on a computer glitch. The real blame belongs to the Democrats and their sanctuary city and state policies. Democrats can't throw open the borders, hand illegal immigrants driver's licenses, and then pretend to be shocked. Shocked, the Democrats claim to be, when these illegal immigrants end up voting. Election security begins with border security. Today's Democrats want neither border security nor election security. Republicans have secured the border, but this fight isn't over, Mr. President. After years of Democrat open border policies, millions of illegal immigrants remain in our country today. Either we remove them, or extreme Democrats are going to do everything they can to make it possible for them to vote in our elections.
All right, let's go to some of our sponsors in the meantime as we await President Trump at the White House. You've probably been hearing about that cyclospora parasite that's been making headlines lately. Health officials are investigating a growing outbreak that has now been reported in 31 states. The parasite can cause a number of awful symptoms, from stomach cramps to severe diarrhea, nausea, fatigue. It's also a good reminder that unexpected illnesses can happen, which is why it's important to have a pharmacy you can count on for easy access to essential medications and physicians that can provide a prescription when you need it. And that's really where All Family Pharmacy comes in. They've made healthcare simple. You can order medications on their website, get the prescription from their doctors if needed. Then your medications are shipped directly to your door. They offer antibiotics like Bactim, which is commonly recommended for this infection, along with anti-parasitic medications, everyday maintenance meds, allergy medications, and hundreds of other prescriptions. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. That number there, you've got people standing by if you need to have any questions. 561-717-6794 is the phone number. Let's go from all family to Birch Gold. And of course, we wouldn't be celebrating America 250, Freedom 250, if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. Of course, we abandoned that discipline back in '71 and have since seen inflation erode the dollar's value. So the main million-dollar question at this point is, what is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that could be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for 15 years, and they'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. So you can learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting the word Trump to that number, 989898. You'll receive a free, no-obligation info kit. They have that A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews. Let Birch Gold help build your foundation with gold. Just text the word Trump to that number, 989898. Great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're approaching the top of the hour. That means we'll be seeing the president here shortly in the Oval Office for this America Nuclear Innovation event. And a few other speakers, I'm sure, will join the president there. And then we'll hear Q&A from some of the fake news. Of course, there are some conservatives. Great to see that in the Oval Office as well. What's really great to see is the following. If you missed it at all this week, if this is the first time you saw it, AKA in case you missed it, let's play a clip from Georgia where we were outside the venue and then the national anthem breaks out. And our cameras were rolling. Check it out. I don't know, that's heartwarming. I don't know. I love that stuff when everybody's chanting USA, singing the anthem, all the patriotic things. But really, it's not just for that moment. It's not just to hear the song then, or not just for the electrifying chills that you get at a Trump rally when everybody's chanting USA. It's echoing off the walls. You can barely hear yourself think or talk, which is what happened to me on Thursday or Tuesday. Actually, it was Wednesday. What day is it? I don't know. It's Friday. The point I'm trying to make is it was extremely loud that day, and it was awesome to be there with you guys watching, and also for those that were there in attendance. What a great event that was. But the point I'm trying to make is this is all these times that we have these organic moments, singing the anthem or chanting USA or seeing the president or talking amongst our friends, family, coworkers about all of the issues that we see maybe in the country or around the world, or what we like about what's going on with the Save America Act in the sense of hopefully getting more momentum. Whatever you're talking about, it's all geared to one thing. It's all geared to keeping freedom as the way of the future in our country. We just don't want to lose our freedoms. We know that other countries, other areas, even in maybe in some of the states that we see out there, there are people that just want to squash your freedom of speech, your freedom of the press, your freedom of religion, take away guns. I mean, that's the Second Amendment, right? The Constitution should be the law of the land from now until Jesus returns. That's it. That's all I'm trying to say. President Trump spoke about the ratepayer protection pledge yesterday at the EPA headquarters. Let's go to clip number 12.
We know that the data centers and AI are dramatically increasing the demand for electricity. It's only fair that the cost of building the new infrastructure required to meet this demand should be borne by the corporations themselves, not by the American consumers and the American patriots, American citizens. And I think everybody agrees to it. And actually, they really don't have a choice because there's no way of producing that kind of electricity, the kind you need, and they want to do it themselves. And honestly, they're coming up with some plans that are genius, just like they are. That's why earlier this year I introduced the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. Under this groundbreaking plan, America's largest tech companies have formally committed to fund or build all energy infrastructure required to meet the demand they are placing on the grid. So they're going to be funding all of those electric needs, and we're giving them the right to build their own power plants. Lee Zeldin is here. He's phenomenal.
And if you missed any of that from the EPA headquarters just yesterday, of course, you can replay that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm not sure if we have a live picture of Washington, D.C. on this Friday, July 24th. We're approaching, and we do. Thanks, guys. We have a couple minutes until the top of the hour. Looking great there in D.C. So we're going to go there in just a little bit to the Oval Office, to that West Wing, to hear from the president. Again, next week, next Friday, so a week from today, President Trump will hold the 13th cabinet meeting of his second administration, this time from Camp David, not too far from Washington, D.C. So that'll be happening. Looking forward to seeing that coverage. And of course, on Monday, this coming Monday, President will be in Michigan. So Michigan, those of you watching from all across that state, will you be louder than Georgia? Because Wednesday, it was electric. So we'll see. We'll see what it's like in Michigan coming up on Monday. Even if we're afar from that one, we'll be hearing from the president, but we'll be able to hear you over the TV airwaves or the live stream waves or whatever they're called. So let's see some electricity there in Michigan as we get closer and closer to September 9th and 10th in Dallas, Texas. Talk about electricity. It'll be cranked up in Dallas for the American Airlines Center, where the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks play, of course. Well, it's the midterm national convention, the Republican National Committee, the RNC, hosting that September 9th and 10th. So a lot of coverage coming up, but of course, a lot of days of somber memories of 9/11, September 11th, the 25th anniversary. And then the day before that, September 10th, would be exactly 1 year since the late, great Charlie Kirk was taken from us. So a lot of news, of course, coming up. But still, we have the month of August to get through. And of course, there is a 24/7 news cycle that is in hyper speed when you're covering a president that understands transparency and talks with the media. So we're going to see that happen yet again today. Let's go to a couple other clips here as we are standing by now for the White House event. A video that's making its rounds on social media is that from Montana Senator Tom Sheehy in Washington, D.C. Let's take a look at clip number 13 as it's now 3 o'clock, top of the hour on the East Coast.
Senator from Montana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday we saw the President of the United States and many others at Dover Air Force Base presiding over a ceremony that is very sacred to those of us who served, and that is a dignified return of remains from the war zone. And that process happens beginning in the war zone through Dover to the hometown of our fallen heroes. I participated in many of those ceremonies myself, to include carrying friends of mine off the plane. One of those is on this bracelet. He was cut in half by an Iranian EFP. This regime that we are fighting does not care about our partisan politics. They don't care who you voted for, who you pray to, or where you live. They want to kill all of us. And they don't just say it, they actually do it. And they've been doing it for 47 years. This is a war of choice. The Democrats are correct. It's a war of choice that was begun by a radical, lunatic band of terrorists that took over a beautiful nation 47 years ago. Took it over with brutality, force, and savagery, And the second they took it over, they didn't free their people. They didn't unleash the largest oil reserves in the world to build schools and bridges. They took it over to murder their own people and to spread their disgusting ideology across the world, and that is exactly what they have been doing. They don't just say it and talk about it. You don't have to believe what they say. You can simply watch what they've done. They have attacked families, women, children, innocent people. They don't just attack them and kill them. They rape them. They skin them alive on camera. They celebrate it. They honor those people who do disgusting things that we would put in jail for the rest of their lives in this country. And they do it for fun, and they pay them money to do it, and they're heroes to that nation. They've done it to friends of mine. They've done it to families who've been in this chamber. And the fact that we sit here and listen to elected officials of this country defend these lunatics who want us all dead. They want all of you dead. They want all of us dead. They don't want us to disappear with the snap of a finger. They want us to be raped, burned alive, and cut into pieces. Watch the video from October 7th. That's what they want to happen from Maine to San Diego, from Seattle to Miami. They want this country turned into a burning husk of its former self. And you don't have to theorize that. That's what they do. From the 1983 barracks bombing, where 280 Marines were vaporized in a morning, from USS Cole to the Achille Laurel to every terrorist attack, from the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. These are not humanitarian freedom organizations. They are death-dealing cults, and they want all of us to die brutal deaths. William Buckley was abducted in 1985, an American military officer. He was skinned alive on camera by the Iranians. American prisoners of war who were captured. They were never called prisoners of war because they were captured by lunatic terrorists, so they were not subject to the Geneva Convention. They were captured and murdered. Power drills through their brains. This is in Iraq. These are families that have dealt with this, and they've never gotten a single dime. These families have never gotten restitution, and not a single president has ever stood up to them. Love Donald Trump or hate him. Love his policies, hate ICE, love ICE, whatever. There's never been a single president who has stood up to Iran and hit back. For 47 years, our troops and our families have been absorbing attack after attack after attack all over the world. And their radical ideology does not stop at the Persian Gulf. It doesn't stop at Tel Aviv. They want to do this everywhere. It's a global radical ideology. And we've been fighting it for half a century. We didn't start this war. We did not, but we will finish it. And forever wars are not popular with anybody these days. Both sides of that, I love to attack our forever wars. And I can promise you, being someone overseas wearing the uniform, when you're fighting for your country, you don't care what party's in office, but you're fighting to defend your country. And you turn on the news and see your elected officials stabbing you in the back, telling you that you're failing, that you've failed every goal of the war, is what I just heard. Last time I checked, we've wiped these bastards out. An occasional missile strike and boats in the straits, that's not military strength. Those are the flailings of a failing empire. Those are the flailings of a nation in collapse because they deserve it. So I encourage our colleagues on both sides of the aisle, whatever's politically convenient, whatever plays well on Twitter or Facebook, think about the people who are deployed right now, standing on that wall with a loaded weapon, who have volunteered to defend our country and our way of life. Because they are there defending us in a just war. Because we did not start a war with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They started it with us 47 years ago, and their attacks have gone unanswered for half a century. It's time to fix this problem and make sure another generation of Americans does not have to fight this murderous, savage adversary. Thank you, Mr. President.
Montana Senator Tim Sheehy on the House floor, actually Senate floor recently, there in Washington, D.C., standing by for President Trump there at the White House. Let me just read one quick quote before we get to our next live read here about our advertisers. "This nation is not here by accident. We're here for a reason." A great quote yesterday from Dr. Ben Carson. If you missed that interview, it's posted on X, Truth Social, our website, all around. A great interview with Dr. Ben Carson. All right, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side, including the one you're about to see, Kalshi.com/RSBN. There's 3 ways to get to Kalshi. The QR code, Kalshi.com/RSBN, or you can download the Kalshi app if you'd like. A ton of political trending topics out there as well. Things like, will the Save America Act pass? When will the Strait of Hormuz open? All sorts of, primary elections coming up in a number of states that have not had their primaries yet. So we may have time to go over that list here in just a little bit. Kalshi.com/RSBN. More than 1 million users on that site. That number is growing. You can bet, you can trade, you can check out polls, whatever you'd like. Kalshi.com, great sponsor here on Right Side. Let's go to our next sponsor. You see right there, Cove Pure is our next sponsor. And most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. Sometimes you can even smell that chlorine. And sometimes you shrug and you just drink it anyway, because we've been told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure. Chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. Chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are these chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. We're told when chlorine interacts with those particles, it actually creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government calls these THMs probable human carcinogens. They've been linked to disruption of your gut and also cancer. Those pitcher filters that you see at the store, they won't fix this. They improve the taste of chlorine, they might mask it, but THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So it's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals, that all gets removed. And this thing doesn't take up much room at all, and you don't have to call someone in to install it. You just put it on the counter, you plug it in. The best part about Cove Pure is it lets you choose whatever temperature water you want as well. No more waiting for the kettle to boil to make a cup of tea or coffee. Just tap a button, you get hot, cold, or warm water instantly. And the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. People have told us that they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. And right now they're giving RSBN viewers $250 off. All you have to do is go to covepure.com/RSBN. Again, covepure.com/RSBN. Drink pure, live pure, Cove Pure. It is 3:09. We're live right now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. My name's Matthew Alvarez. Thank you so much for live streaming in with us. And those of you that watched our July 3rd coverage in Mount Rushmore or out there at Mount Rushmore, July 4th coverage in DC, our Georgia coverage on Wednesday, the President's national primetime address last Thursday night, and every day in between. Thank you for doing so. As we continue to cover the news of the day, 24/7 news cycle, a lot of things going on out there, of course, and we keep our eyes on what's going on. And sometimes there's a Flashback Friday. Today, not really. Maybe a story from a Flashback Friday. Usually we share it with you, a lot of videos, that kind of thing. But today, of course, we're about to go to the White House. Looking forward to seeing the president here make this announcement. Again, this is all about one thing, specifically American nuclear innovation. So that's going to happen at the Oval Office. There will be some speakers that follow the president. And then after that, the press will ask some questions. So kind of go into the weekend knowing, at least from the White House, from the president, the latest news when it comes to the news cycle. Of course, there are a ton of stories out there, and you can't get to every single one of them. You could try, but there's a lot of headlines, of course. We have the Iranian conflict. We have the momentum for the Save America Act. There's various stories as well when it comes to breaking news, more locally breaking news, nothing that I see right now happening. As I've been on the desk here for some very, very serious breaking news stories. If you guys remember back J13 back in 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania, it was just a raw emotion day of, can you believe that just happened, an attempted assassination. Remember praying here on air with you guys, all the things, right? But outside of that, where we want to see that momentum really kick into high gear. I know it's summertime, I know it's July, I know it's hot out, I know it's August is next month, school returns in September, all the things. The temperatures go down, whatever. But November 3rd is the midterm election. We got to get this Save America Act passed. We see that there are a lot of problems within our election system in this country. And President Trump said something just the other day in Georgia while we were there covering the Marietta, Georgia rally. He said, do you remember that saying, the too big to rig when it comes to the elections? Well, he's bringing that back. Yeah, he did talk about that in Georgia, so let's do that again. Make it too big to rig. Bring everybody out there to vote. Keeping the House, keeping the Senate, keeping the executive branch, always a good thing to do. And if we don't nuke the filibuster, and then we get the Democrats that do nuke the filibuster, meaning that they don't need any other votes from anybody else, whoever has the House or Senate, the majority, all you need is a simple majority to push through anything you want. I think it's time to realize what time we're living in. We realize that the Democrats will nuke the filibuster if they ever get power again and push through everything possible. And if there's a leftist president, they'll be signing that into law. Well, we need to nuke the filibuster so we can have the common sense legislation like the Save America Act be signed into law. That's not against the American people. That's for free and fair elections. And those that are against it are against the freedom of our union. As we await the president, let's go to a couple more sponsors here as there's a slow zoom in of the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You know, we wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for our strong foundation set by the framers. Alexander Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, of course, we abandoned that discipline 10 years before I was born, 1971, and have since seen inflation erode the dollar's value. So what is the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that could be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years. They'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. So you can learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting the word Trump to the number 989898, and you'll receive a free no-obligation info kit. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, let Birch Gold help build your foundation with gold. Just text the word Trump to that number 989898. You get that free info kit as well. I believe we might have one more sponsor, or we might be going to DC. Okay, let's go to All Family Pharmacy as we are getting ready to wrap the coverage soon after the president's event. But you've probably been hearing about that cyclospora parasite that's been making headlines lately. Health officials investigating this growing outbreak that has been reported in 31 states. We know that RFK Jr. at HHS doing the best he can to curtail this outbreak. We're hearing that that's starting to happen, but the parasite can cause all sorts of awful symptoms. It's also a good reminder that unexpected illnesses can happen, which is why it's important to have a pharmacy you can count on for easy access to essential medications and physicians that can provide a prescription when you need it. And that's really where All Family Pharmacy comes in. They've made healthcare simple, and you can actually order medications on their website, get the prescription from their doctors if needed. Then your medications are shipped directly to your door, and they offer antibiotics like Bactim. It's Bactim, which is commonly recommended for this infection. They also have antiparasitic medications, everyday maintenance medications, allergy medications, and hundreds of other prescriptions. So just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can save 10% today. RSBN10 is the promo code. You can give them a call too, 561-717-6794, 561-717-6794. They are standing by if you have any questions. Great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go over a few more programming notes for those of you maybe just joining us right this second. Next week, the president has another busy schedule. On Monday, he'll be in Michigan to deliver a speech. Tuesday afternoon, he'll be at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., paying tribute to the life and legacy of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. On Friday of next week, President Trump will host the 13th cabinet meeting of his second administration, this time not from the cabinet room at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but at Camp David. So he'll be at Camp David with the cabinet on Friday of next week. So I'm sure that's coverage we'll be watching together here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go now to a few statements from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue regarding our elections as we stand by for the president. For years, fake news and other bad actors tried to convince you that we had safe and secure elections when that clearly wasn't reality. America must continue to fight for honest elections and properly functioning voting systems. Our nation depends on it. This is all directly from the White House, whether on the X page or other social media posts. The U.S. election system is broken. Here's what the disclosures reveal, specifically referring to President Trump's Thursday night national primetime address the other day, which, if this was some real news in the sense of not our network and not the conservative networks that aired the president's speech, but the mainstream media, this would have been one of the biggest stories that we've seen in quite some time, that hundreds of millions of American voter files in the hands of foreign governments. This is all from the White House here. Voting machines and ballot counting systems exposed to hacking and manipulation. So there's a lot going on. Evidence of fraud being buried, hence really teeing off the Save America Act. We'll see what happens. It's July 24th, getting closer and closer to that midterm election, less than 4 months from now. And that midterm national convention, I know I keep talking about it, but it's going to be, I think it's great because it's usually during a presidential cycle, but this time during the midterm cycle. So if you're into politics, you came to the right place. If you also love God, family, country, you came to the right place. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Oval Office, the White House, of course, to see the president here as he is about to make an announcement, specifically on American nuclear innovation. This is from the Oval Office. A number of nuclear energy titans will be there. And then on top of that, we'll hear from the press as they ask questions to the president. And then before you know it, the president will be taking part in tonight's White House Correspondents' Dinner. Let's go to the White House now.
Thank you very much. This is going to be very interesting because we're going to be talking about nuclear. It's a wave of the future. We have the most brilliant people in the world standing behind me that were big into the world of nuclear, like my uncle was at MIT. My uncle was very big into nuclear for 41 years at MIT, but they've advanced somewhat since those days, I think, I hope. So today we're celebrating a historic milestone for civilian nuclear energy and the incredible renaissance of nuclear power in America. I want to thank Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum, they're fantastic, two incredible people, Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios, Director of the National Energy Dominance Council, Jared Agin, U.S. Chief Technology Officer Ethan Klein, and Director of Idaho National Laboratory, John Wagner. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. It's a big day. I also want to recognize and congratulate CEO of Antares Nuclear, Jordan Bramble, CEO of Valar Atomics, Isaiah Taylor, CEO of Deployable, not deplorable. Remember Hillary? Deplorable. Hopefully your company's going to work out a little bit better.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck. Deployable Energy, Bobby Gallagher, and CEO of Allo Atomics, Matt Lozak. Thank you all for being with us. Last year I signed 4 historic executive orders to reignite a wave of progress in America's nuclear power production and promote this abundant, affordable, unlimited supply of energy for the American people. As part of this effort, I directed Secretary of Energy Chris Wright to establish a pilot program for advanced reactors and see at least 3 cutting-edge reactors started up safely by the 4th of July. And what we've done has been pretty much of a miracle. Most believe the goal was impossible, but I'm delighted to say that 4 companies succeeded in meeting that deadline for the greatest in the world at this subject. So these are the first new privately funded advanced reactors to turn on the United States in over 4 decades, and making sure that these groundbreaking designs were safe to build and test so quickly was a challenge that required a historic partnership between these innovative companies and our administration. We have brilliant nuclear people. We have a lot of brilliant people, but we have brilliant nuclear people on our staff. In the past, it often took 6 years or more to approve a reactor design, if they were ever approved at all. Most of them didn't get approved, and maybe rightfully so. But now America is building again, America is dreaming again, and we're leading the world and pioneering the next generation of nuclear power. There's nobody even close. We've taken a lead over the last 2 years that has been, I hope, insurmountable. We'll see. But let me ask Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios, who's been absolutely fantastic in the administration, to say a few words, followed by a few of the people. Let's see, Chris Wright will go, and Jordan Bramble, and Isaiah Taylor, then Bobby Gallagher, and Matt Luzik. And if you could, don't spend too much time. That's a lot of people. But go ahead, and do you want to start it off, Chris, please?
Wait, we have Michael Kratsios first.
Sure, go ahead, Michael.
Mr. President, you signed 4 executive orders last year, and you set one of the most ambitious goals in civil nuclear history to essentially have 3 reactors go critical by the 4th of July. This is an accomplishment that many thought would not be possible. The last time that a privately funded new reactor design went critical was in 1974, so it was over 50 years ago. And we were able to achieve that and surpass it by having 4, and these are the great 4 American companies that got it done.
That's great. Go ahead, please.
In the last 30 or 40 years, the American nuclear industry has been quiescent. Most of the reactors built around the world have been built by Russia and China, both in their countries and abroad. President Trump said enough of that. America is going to be back as the leader in the nuclear space, in large reactors and in next generation small reactors. He set a bold goal. It's been exceeded, and I'm incredibly proud to be standing here with these fabulous entrepreneurs next to me.
And brilliant science people, too, really. Please, go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you so much for your leadership. It was really your executive orders that catalyzed this nuclear renaissance. When they first came out, people scoffed at them. They said it couldn't be done. And now there's not only 3 companies, but 4 companies here that really met the moment. Us at Antares, we look forward to being a resilient energy source for Golden Dome, to power high-powered assets in space, and eventually undersea autonomy. So this is a strategic technology for our nation. And what we look forward to doing is putting reactors on our military installations before 2028.
That's great. Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, please, go ahead.
And Mr. President, thank you so much for your leadership in this moment. I think that the United States has been a leader in nuclear energy since the very beginning. We were the first ever to turn on an advanced reactor in the world. We were also the first to turn on any type of nuclear reactor in the world. But over the last 30 years, we became more interested in PowerPoint than in power plants. And it's your leadership that is changing that. The executive orders that were signed last year, I think if you look forward in 50 to 100 years when we have nuclear power of every kind that's allowing us to make steel again, to make aluminum again, to actually be able to go to outer space and all the places that humanity wants to go, you could trace it back to the executive orders that started last year. So we're honored to serve our country and be a part of this. And thank you again for your leadership.
Thank you. Great job. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for setting such an audacious, bold goal. As some of the other CEOs have said, most people thought this was impossible. But the American spirit was unlocked through your vision and through the Department of Energy and the Secretary, and through the INL and John's team. We couldn't be more proud to be part of this moment. I do think this is going to be historic. I do think people are going to look back and believe that this is when the tide turned on nuclear and how we unlock cheap and abundant energy.
Thank you. That's a great job you're doing too, by the way. Anybody else?
Yeah, one more.
Please, go ahead.
We cut it close, but we went critical at 12:20 a.m. on the 4th of July.
Wow.
So thank you again so much for setting these executive orders. Like everyone else said, we would not be here without those executive orders, so thank you so much. And what it's unlocking for us is this year we are going to be raising $1 billion, moving into a 1 million square foot facility, and our target market is data centers. So we're making the ideal nuclear product to power data centers with bring your own power. That's our whole goal. So thank you once again for unlocking this, and we really, really cannot be here without you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have anything to say?
Sure. Go ahead. No, I would just say, this is exactly why you created the Energy Dominance Council, that you wanted to unlock new forms of energy. People ask us all the time about green energy, and I say if you want to invest in green energy, invest in nuclear. That's the kind of energy that's going to solve the energy demand that's out there, and that's baseload energy that's going to solve our solutions, and that's the energy of the future.
Sure. Thank you.
Well, I would just add, we invented nuclear power in this country. At Idaho National Laboratory, the first demonstrated nuclear power in 1951. After that, 52 different reactors were designed and tested there. But it's been, prior to the last couple of months with these gentlemen, it has been more than 50 years since we had a new reactor go critical on our site. And I have to say that in all my years, and I've been around for a while, I've never seen government, private industry, and the laboratories working together this effectively. And it's all driven by the bold goals in your executive orders. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. So, first of all, maybe you have some questions for the people behind me. Please, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. President. I want to ask about the Saudi nuclear deal. This man over your shoulder announces a big deal after 18 months of negotiating with the Saudis. Seems like it's all done, it's signed, and then you come out, throw some new conditions on top of it, the whole thing blows up. So did he get out ahead of you, or what happened there?
No, nobody got out ahead. I mean, I just say that in order to do it, they have to be a member of the Abraham Accords, which have been very successful. But it's time now that they do it. They and others didn't want to do it because of the problem that they had with Iran. You don't have that problem anymore. You don't have a great power there anymore. You have a problem, but the problem is disappearing day by day. They were the bully of the Middle East. They were not going to be that much of a bully anymore. They'll probably, I think, instinctively want to be. But you don't have the same problem that you would have had 4 or 5 months ago before they had no Navy, no military, no anti-aircraft, no leaders. I mean, their leaders are gone. A lot of things have changed with respect to that country. So, no, we want them to, it's a two-way street, and we think it's very important for the future of the Middle East. The Abraham Accords have been incredibly successful for the countries, as you know, for the countries in them. And I think it's very important. So, you know, at some point they'll join and they'll do their civil. It's really, I call it civil nuclear, but that's what it is. No enrichment, it's civil nuclear.
A question about Iran. You're talking about blowing up civilian power plants and bridges. Much of the civilized world would consider that a war crime. Do you?
I won't respond to that question. Who are you with?
The New York Times.
I figured so. Failing New York Times. Yeah, please.
Javier Negro from Real America's Voice in Español. I just came back from Venezuela, and people there are very happy with you,
right?
With Secretary Marco Rubio, with Secretary Wright.
You have good poll numbers in Venezuela. It's pretty amazing.
I know some huge plans for there, and they are amazing. I want to give you thank you. I want to ask you one question, because some people there, they are asking me that. When will there be elections? Do you have a date in mind? Senator Bernie Moreno said that July 24, 2027 could be a good day in honor of Simon Bolivar. And my second question is the football player who scored Spain's goal in the final at World Cup, Ferran Torres, celebrate the victory wearing a Make Spain Great Again cap. The communists are attacking him because they say that it's a friend of you, and also they are attacking Argentinian players because of Milei. What do you think about that?
Well, he's a great player, and he was wearing essentially a Make America Great Again cap. You know, so it was a nice tribute, and I think he meant that very nicely. We appreciate it. We've made America great. We have the greatest country in the world now. I will say this: we were a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, this country was in deep trouble. We had borders that were a disaster. We had everything you could possibly have, including men playing in women's sports. Even the Supreme Court's taken care of most of that problem. But we had a country that was in big trouble. It was being laughed at all over the world. We have the hottest country. This is the hottest country anywhere in the world. So I saw him wearing the essentially Make America Great Again hat. And I know that he meant it as a very great compliment, and we appreciate it. As far as the elections in Venezuela, they're not really ready for them yet, but boy, a lot of progress has been made. Delcy's been doing a fantastic job, as you know. The amount of oil coming out of Venezuela right now, even before the big companies, you know, Exxon, all the big companies are looking at it. They're going there. It's very fertile territory. But the amount of money being made by Venezuela now is more than they've ever made before, and we're taking a lot also for our efforts. and the money's being sent and the oil's being sent to Houston and Louisiana to be refined. And we've paid for the war many times over. It's been an amazing fact. And as you say, I'm very popular in Venezuela because we're bringing tremendous economics back to the country. They were absolutely dying. They were in such trouble. And now Venezuela is becoming extremely successful. They're taking in billions of dollars, selling millions and millions of barrels of oil, and we're getting some, and they're getting some, and everybody's making a lot. And it was dead before we got there. So it's been an incredible relationship. They're not ready yet for the elections, but at some point they will be, and we're going to be standing right on top of it. And say hello. I've known them for a long time. I've known that country, and I own the Miss Universe pageant, and Miss Venezuela always did very well in that pageant. So I know something about the country, but I've known it for a long time. They're great people. Say hello, okay?
Mr. President.
Peter?
About Iran, what is the exit strategy?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. There's a military exit where we just keep going just the way we are, and we can even make it a heavier dose, and it's knocking out everything they have. Or there's a smarter strategy, and that's you make a deal. And they want to make a deal. I just don't think they're ready yet, but they do want to make a deal. Sometimes they don't want to say they want to make a deal. They want to be the tough guys, but they do want to make a deal. There's two ways. I mean, it's you can just keep doing exactly what we're doing and take them apart piece by piece. We can do it in a more rapid fashion, which we might do, or we can negotiate with them, which we're also doing right now. I mean, as we speak, we're talking to them.
And you said today that Russia and China are not helping. Earlier this week, the War Secretary Hegseth said that they are enabling. So what is the difference?
Well, I don't know that they're enabling. I mean, I will tell you that President Xi said he will not partake, and President Putin said the same thing. I think, I trust them. They've had a long-term relationship. There could be some things they do, but thus far, at least, it has not been major. I don't think they'd want to have me disappointed.
And a different story, not Iran. There's this nasty parasite that is giving people in 9 states explosive diarrhea. When is it going to be safe to eat lettuce again?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. It's the first time I've been asked that question. Are you eating lettuce recently?
I should always have more lettuce.
You want to get the hell out of here, Peter. No, it's a very interesting question from you. I didn't think you'd ask that kind of a question. Nobody wants to ask that question, but it's very interesting. Well, it's exciting.
There's this food coming in, I guess, from Mexico. It's tainted. It's making a lot of people sick. That is the CDC's terminology.
Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a major tariff on Mexico because of the lettuce, and we're going to put a big tariff on Canada because of the smoke. All right? We'll get a combo. Which would you have, the lettuce or the smoke? I think I'll take the smoke.
Yeah, the smoke wrecked my daughter's swim meet.
Well, it's closed up a lot of countries. I've told Canada they have to do something about it. We've never had this problem. All of a sudden we have this problem with Canada. So we'll have to talk to them about that.
Mr. President, a follow-up on Iran. Thank you, sir. A follow-up on Iran. Have you made a decision about the major strikes that you were referring to? Okay. Should we expect to see major strikes?
Look, we're talking to them right now. I think they're getting more and more serious as the days go by, for maybe the obvious reason. But we are talking to them right now. Look, there are two ways. I consider that the smarter way, but the other is probably the easier way, doing what we're doing. And we can take that to a much higher level if we want to. We're prepared to do that, as you know. We're locked and loaded. We're locked and loaded and ready to go, but we're talking to them, so I think while we're talking, we'll see what comes of it.
And when you say, just a quick follow-up.
I believe, Jeff, they're very serious. They should be.
And when you say that you're talking, is it Mr. Kushner or Mr. Witkoff, or who's involved in those talks?
Sort of everybody. JD and Marco and a lot of people are talking. A lot of people to talk to. It's a big deal. But really, when you get right down to it, it's not very complex. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very, very simple actually, but it's a big deal. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they have even a thought of a nuclear weapon, we will just continue to go at much higher levels. But
We are talking right now, and we'll see what comes of it. I'm not, despite what everyone says about the election, I'm not in a hurry. We have to do it right. Elections take care of themselves. When when I went into Venezuela, everybody was against it. Oh, what are you doing going into Venezuela? And then 2 days later, they said, wow, that's fantastic. A lot of people are saying that with Iran already, because it would take them 25 years to rebuild already from what they have. And again, as you know, no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft, no radar, no nothing. I mean, and we, as you know, we just reinstituted I guess you could go, I call it the iron wall on the water. Nothing gets through. Nothing. Blockade, nothing gets through. And they sort of have to make a deal. But we are talking to them. I think they're being serious. I think they are being by far the most serious that we've seen them. But that doesn't mean we get there. We'll see what happens. But I always prefer that alternative.
Mr. President, I have an energy question. So, Burgum, you might be able to help with this. So you have criticized windmills for quite a long time. They're very ugly. They tend to use more energy than they actually produce.
That's true.
A lot of people in
done your homework.
A lot of people in Middle America, they are so tired of seeing them continue to go up on farmland and stuff like that. Is there any way to? Is our federal government still funding in any way putting these up?
We have. I can speak for Doug, and then I'm going to let Doug speak because he knows the subject. I really do know that subject well. We have not approved anything having to do with windmills. They are horrible. They are unsightly. They ruin housing values of people. If you're looking at a windmill or hearing a windmill because they're noisy, they kill all the birds. They kill all the eagles. You shoot an eagle, you go to jail for 2 years. If you kill an eagle with a windmill, you don't go to jail, and they have hundreds of them laying on the ground. It's terrible. And they're very expensive energy. And they're all made in China, but China has very few windmills. They're made in China, but China doesn't use them for the most part. China actually uses coal, oil and gas. They use nuclear, by the way. They're getting very big in nuclear, I will tell you, this little group. But they don't use wind. Wind is inconsistent. It's unattractive. It's very expensive. It's probably the most expensive form of energy. So I've been talking about it. We essentially, unless there's a trick reason, we will have hopefully no wind farms approved. We're doing more than anybody ever in history having to do with energy. But I've restricted wind farms, windmills. Take a look at Palm Springs, California, where they have a wind farm. As you enter beautiful Palm Springs, California, it looks like a junkyard. You have old ones, rotted ones, they're falling down all over the place. They don't want to bury it because they say the fiber that the blades are made out of should not go in the ground because it's going to poison the ground. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but if it's not going to go in the ground, what do you do with it? Put it up in the air?
Yeah.
So, good. I see you're not a fan of windmills.
No, I'm not a fan of windmills,
Then
Mr.
you happen to be
President. I'm
very
very
smart.
passionate about this.
Doug, do you want to speak about that first?
Well, no, but I would say, yes, President Trump has wisely understood that wind was unreliable, intermittent, dependent on the weather, only existed particularly offshore because of massive subsidies. So not only was it expensive to generate electricity on the grid, it was also expensive for taxpayers because of the subsidies. And so again, President Trump shifting the policy towards energy dominance, which is reliable, affordable, 7x24 energy that's not dependent on the weather. And that includes nuclear, includes hydro, includes geothermal, includes oil and gas, includes beautiful coal. And again, China, 60% of their electricity is coming from coal. Coal was the #1 electric producer in the world 125 years ago, and it was for the last 125 years in a row, and it will be again this year. 126, quite a streak if you're an athletic team that they've won 126 years in a row. But President
But we were restricted from using it.
Yep.
Every coal mine was going to be closed down within the next year if we didn't win the election. And it's I call it clean, beautiful coal, because it is. What they do today with coal is amazing. But it is the most powerful. And with that, go ahead, Doug.
Well, as you say, under President Trump's leadership, and then working together as a team across government with Chris Wright, Lee Zeldin, Energy Dominance Council, we've kept open 35 gigawatts of coal this last year, and if that 35 gigawatts was not up this past winter during the cold streak and Storm Fern, we would have seen brownouts, blackouts, and literally people dying in America during that cold weather. So again, President Trump's, the elections matter. When he came in, he turned the direction back towards reliable, affordable energy. Nuclear is a key part of that with these amazing entrepreneurs. And I just would add to this up here. People need to understand, the four guys that are standing up here did not get a government grant. This is private sector. President Trump unleashed capital going back in, billions of dollars of capital going back into the nuclear industry. President Trump understands innovation is the source of American greatness. You get rid of the regulation, you support entrepreneurs, the capital flows, America wins.
And Mr. Secretary, the starting for this nuclear, dominance, what does that look like for the American people out there? Like, what are those first steps that we can see in these coming months and years?
Well, I was just to say, I'll go on, and you can see it right now, because when you take a look across the whole world, President Trump's policies, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's Alaska, whether it's reinstating export for 18 months ago, we had a ban on LNG exports from our country. Now we're the world's largest exporter of LNG. President Trump's policy was, let's sell energy to our friends and allies, keep it affordable at home, so our friends and allies can stop buying from our adversaries. Russia was selling virtually all of the natural gas into Western Europe. 2/3 of that gas has been displaced by America. America has turned those into our customers, supporting our allies. And with Venezuela, as President Trump said, that flowing to our refineries on the South Coast, that's lowering gas prices for America. Unleashing Alaska, which the previous administration sanctioned more than Iran, that's going to again help provide low-cost energy for Americans. So today we have the lowest priced, most secure energy of any country in the world. That's going to change the course of this country for decades to come.
Mr. President, what? The Justice Department last night withdrew those subpoenas to the New York Times journalists who reported on Air Force One. Do you support these type of subpoenas to journalists, or are you going to encourage the administration?
We're not after journalists. We're after leakers. We're after people that are cowards, people that are unpatriotic, people that are treasonous in many cases. And the way you find them is through the journalists, when the journalists probably know they shouldn't write. They shouldn't be giving information out like that particular information or others. We had a lot of, look at the Supreme Court where they leaked the opinion of Roe v. Wade early. That person should be found. And the way you find them is to tell the journalist, if it's something having to do with national security, you tell the journalist, who is it? And we have a long way to go with that case.
So you think it's appropriate to subpoena family members of journalists to find out information?
You want to say it again?
There were subpoenas to family members of the journalists.
I don't know what's appropriate, what's not. We do it legally. Barack Hussein Obama did it all the time. He went after journalists and nobody said anything about it. He went after journalists. They said, who was the leaker? Who was the leaker? And if you don't give us the leaker, you go into jail. You know that. But when Obama does it, it's okay. When I do it, it's not. In many cases, that's the only way you're going to find out who a leaker is, and it has to do with national security. It's amazing. He did it many times, and nobody said anything about it. But when a Republican does it, when, in particular, Trump does it, everybody makes a big deal. Now, the way you find out is you say to the journalist, if it's national security, I would say, I really put it down to national security, not in all cases, but when you have somebody doing a national security leak or a leak of great importance, and you have somebody inside the walls of, let's say, the White House leaking, I think that's a national security concern. I think it's absolutely fine. And again, I'm not knocking Obama for doing it. I'm knocking the press for not even wanting to cover it. But Obama did that often. Other presidents have done it also. They go to the journalist or the reporter. They say, national security, who gave you this information? I'm okay with that.
Mr. President, did you authorize for Secretary Wright to sign the Saudi nuclear deal? If not, why did he sign it?
Well, we didn't talk about it, but it was always understood, and Chris knew, and Saudi Arabia knew, that if they didn't join the Abraham Accords, the deal's not, I'm not going to do the deal.
So then why did you sign it?
Senator John.
Because they understood that in order, subject to Congress and everything else, in order for that deal to go through, they had to sign into the Abraham Accords. And they've had great success. The Abraham Accords have been very successful. But in order to do that, we wanted them. We want them in. We think it's very good. We think the Abraham Accords bring peace in the Middle East, and now there's no longer an Iran factor. There's no longer Iran to worry about because they've been reduced in terms of their capability and power by many-fold.
Thank you. Senator John Thune has suggested that if the White House thinks that there are votes to pass the Save America Act, you should be picking up the phone.
Who are you with?
I'm with the Washington Examiner, sir. Could you be doing more to help that legislation pass?
Well, I do more. I got 3 congressmen, maybe 4, to settle, to send it to the Senate. We got the vote, as you know, in Congress. I got a call from Mike Johnson, who's fantastic. He's a fantastic speaker, one of the best I've ever seen, and I think he's going to go down as one of the best. He called. He said, we have problems with 3 or 4 people. Could you call them? I called them. Every one of them, after I called them, voted, and we got it passed up to the Senate. And I'd certainly be willing. I mean, he's got 4 or 5 people that are very difficult. A couple of them I put out of office, so I understand how it feels. I mean, they're doing the wrong thing. Look, who cannot approve voter ID? Who cannot approve proof of citizenship? Who cannot approve funding military when you're winning a war? And what are you supposed to do, stop fighting? We're winning a war by a lot. We're talking to them right now. They're willing to do things that they would have never done. Other presidents should have done this a long time ago. They say 47, but now it's actually 50 years. We've been saying 47 for 3 years. So it's 50 years. For 50 years, they should have done it. But who wouldn't approve voter ID? And that's photo ID. Who wouldn't approve proof of citizenship? And the Democrats don't want it because they cheat. But no Republican should put us in a position where they don't approve something like that. Yeah, please.
And then earlier today, you reposted Lara Loomer's interview with President Zelensky. What do you make of growing MAGA support for the war in war in Ukraine? Sorry.
Well, I think they support what I support. We just had a complete win in Arizona. The young gentleman who's Harry Enton, I believe his name is, the pollster, said Trump's 100% favorable. He gets everybody endorses wins, which is pretty much true. Everyone I endorse, just about, wins. So there seems to be a natural bond between me and MAGA, but I'm the one that created MAGA, and I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else. MAGA knows what MAGA wants, and MAGA is very happy. They want to see this done, and they're not going to be happy if it's not done. Make America great again. It's all about make America. We started that a long time ago. But the concept of not approving voter ID or not approving proof of citizenship, and I won't even get into the ballot thing because, we'll hold that maybe for another time. I think the two are 97, 98% issues. I think the ballots are 75% issue. But even at 75, they should do the ballots. The ballots are in many ways more important than even the first 2. But they're a little more controversial because some people don't want to go and vote. But most great Americans want to go and vote. The corrupt ballot stuff that you saw that with the recent election in Los Angeles, the mayor's election, where the young guy, I don't know him, I came to the office recently after he lost, and they find all these ballots all of a sudden out of the... They came down from heaven, hundreds of thousands of ballots. Isn't it wonderful? He had no chance of losing, Spencer Pratt. He had no chance. He was going to be in second place or first place. But I saw it happen. I said, oh, he's not going to win. He had to beat somebody. He was way up on a person that nobody ever heard of, a young woman who nobody ever heard of. She cried that night that she lost. But all of a sudden, time went by, and the election's long over. And I heard a report that Spencer Pratt's not doing that well. I said, watch, he's going to lose. And he lost. It's crooked. We have crooked elections in some places. Yep.
President Trump, today it was announced LeBron James has decided that he wants his next team to be the 76ers. Where do you stand on LeBron versus Michael Jordan as the best ever?
Well, Michael Jordan's a guy that's a friend of mine. Play golf with him. He's a really good guy. And I think LeBron is, maybe he's a racist, but maybe he doesn't like Trump. I don't know. But I only like people that like me. So I would say Michael Jordan all the way.
And another sports question. When Tiger Woods was about to get arrested, he called you.
Yeah.
Now we know that when Bryson DeChambeau was having a dispute with a rules official this week, he wanted to call you. You got involved with a red card for the U.S. men's soccer team. Is there a precedent for somebody with your job becoming a fixer for the world's best athletes?
Well, it's not a fix. You mean being a judge. Like, I thought the Bryson call was a tough call. I saw him walking around. I see a lot of people, they're walking around looking for their ball in weeds, okay? But I've been watching that, so, I thought it was a tough call against him. I thought the red card was a very tough call. And it worked out brilliantly. Look, supposing that they didn't let him play and we lost, everyone would have been angry, right? The way it was that they lost with their best player. Now everyone's happy, including Belgium. Of course, they lost the next game, so they're not that happy either. But it worked out great. Johnny did a good job in making that call. All I did, I asked for a review. I thought that call was not a good call.
Mr. President, the White House responded today.
Mr. President, your administration announced new tariffs today, and you did a post earlier also about a probe against the EU. Are you confident that the new tariffs and any tariffs that may come from this probe will withstand legal scrutiny?
Well, these tariffs have been up for a long time. They've been approved for years, thousands of cases they've been approved. Of course, with me, it's different. I'm different. I go up. I don't get treated fairly, but I've lived with it. And here we are in the Oval Office. I guess I somehow figured it out. But no, we put the tariffs on. They're very standard tariffs. The other way was easier. I thought the decision by the Supreme Court was not a good one. But we have many forms of tariffs. And all we did is go to B, follow the line B. Now, B is something that's been used many, many times for years and very standard. And we've used that, and we're taking in billions of dollars. And because of tariffs, largely, I think the election, November 5th, but largely because of tariffs, we have $19.2 trillion being invested in our country. And without tariffs, we would be in big trouble. Think of it. So the Sleepy Joe Biden administration has less than $1 trillion being invested, much less for 4 years. We have $19.2 trillion for 1 year. There's never been anything like it in history. That's because of tariffs. So the Supreme Court said, please do it a different way. You have other ways to do it, and we did that.
USTR mentioned Iran.
You told Axios.
Child labor was one of the things that USTR cited as a reason.
Well, it seems to be that that's what they decided. They go all over the world and they look and they examine and they see and they see. And child labor was one of the things that one of the reasons, and they had a big problem with that. Yeah.
You told Axios that you were considering a, quote, massive attack on Iran. What is the tipping point for you to make the decision?
Well, I can't tell you that. Right now we're talking to them, so maybe there won't be a tipping point, and maybe there will. And we're ready to go. Look, we're locked and loaded. We're ready to go, but we're talking to them, so maybe there will be, maybe there won't be a tipping point.
But at what point with Iran do you think they're going to cry uncle and actually come to the table?
Well, maybe they will cry uncle, or maybe they'll just give up, or maybe they'll just go into a cave and hide. They have caves very deep in the ground, and they can hide. They get shaken up pretty good, but they can hide. But we've taken out their first level of leadership. We've then taken out their second level of leadership. We've taken out some of the third level, and we're negotiating with the rest. And we'll see how it all works. And right now, we are talking to them seriously. But I've talked to them before, and they don't seem to be able to get there. Maybe now they will. But look. If I thought they were anywhere near getting a nuclear weapon, if I wasn't elected, Israel would, in my opinion, not be around anymore. They would have been hit by a nuclear weapon. And that includes right at the beginning with Barack Hussein Obama's nuclear deal that was so bad with Iran. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. And maybe even more so, the B-2 bombers. If that plane right there, that plane, that beautiful plane, the wing, it carries the largest bombs in the world. If that bomb didn't go over their 17-hour flight, and it hit every one of those bombs, hit their target, and the target was an air shaft at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's hard to believe, right? Going at very tremendous speeds. Every one of them hit and blew it to hell. If that didn't happen, they would have had a nuclear weapon, and there would be no Israel. If I wasn't here, if I wasn't president, there would be no Israel, and there probably would be no Middle East. And you saw that when they shockingly started shooting at everybody all over the Middle East. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used that. There might not be a Middle East as we know it today, but there definitely, in my opinion, there would not have been an Israel. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you.
Thanks for all the questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
You might have heard one of the reporters just say to the president, thank you for all the questions. And it makes me think about when Joe Biden was the so-called president. He took no questions sometimes, and the reporters would be yelling at him, and he'd just sit there with that corny grin, and then they'd clear out the press. But President Trump taking, how many questions was that? I don't know, 25, 30, 35? Anyway, thanks so much for watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're approaching the top of the hour. My name is Matthew Alvarez. If you'd like to follow on X, it's at Matthew US Media, or on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. Of course, if you'd like to follow us on Right Side Broadcasting Network on X, it's at RSB Network. And then on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. Those of you that were at the rally in Georgia on Wednesday, what a rally that was. Those of you that watched the rally from afar, thanks so much for doing so. We'll be seeing President Trump in Michigan on Monday, so some more rally coverage coming up, at least from the stance of hearing the speech from the president. A busy week next week. We'll see if there's any breaking news over the weekend. We do know President Trump will be taking part in the White House Correspondents' Press Dinner tonight, so there may be some jokes back and forth. We'll see what happens there. If that is something that's live on the White House feed, we'll have it here. If not, that's all right. We'll catch some of the clips. For all of us here at Right Side, thank you so much for joining us. Let's go to MyPillow to close things out. MyPillow.com/RSBN. A ton of great products, as you guys know, if you have any of the products. If you don't, maybe order one if you can afford it. Very good prices. Use the RSBN promo code. That'll give you a deep discount. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. rsbnetwork.com/donate. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, my name is Matthew Alvarez. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.